Davis gets an orange call. Ernie jukes and jogs over the right side on a beautiful 24-yard maneuver. From the Miami 25, Ernie Davis gets the call to skirt the left flank, and he does a thorough job. It's a TD for the Orange. And
live from the Heights Theater in Elmira Heights, this is a WETM 18 News special presentation for the local premiere of The Express.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Stone.
And I'm Reagan Medji. Welcome back to the Elmira Heights Theater, where The Express will make its debut premiere tonight in the Southern Tier. The movie is based on the life of Elmira native Ernie Davis, and it will be seen in the Southern Tier.
Davis, of course, considered one of the greatest football college players of all time, and he graduated from EFA first back in 1958 before going on to star for Syracuse University. He led the team to its only national championship back in 1959, and 2 years later he became the first African-American to win the coveted Heisman Trophy award, which is between me and Reagan right now, a replica of it. Davis was picked by the Washington Redskins in the 1962 NFL draft, but was soon traded to the Cleveland Browns. Unfortunately, Davis died of leukemia in 1963 and was never able to play pro football. Now, you know the movie The Express, but that wasn't Ernie's nickname. It was really the Elmira Express. And that nickname was given to him back in 1959 by the sports editor for the Elmira Star-Gazette, Al Millett. And recently I spoke with Al about how he came up with that nickname.
Well, it was we were covering it. He was a sophomore. We were down in Pittsburgh, and they are clobbering Pittsburgh. And he cut loose on about an 83-yard run down the sidelines. And I'm sitting next to a reporter from the Pittsburgh Gazette. And I just mentioned something about there goes the Elmira Express. And he looked at me, and the next thing I know it was in the Pittsburgh paper, and then it became good. It just hit off good. When we used it in every game from then on. That was a sophomore.
Was he playing for EFA then, or Syracuse University?
No, he was playing with Syracuse.
So it didn't start till he was in Syracuse.
No, it didn't start till he was in Syracuse.
You know, how did Ernie Davis get along with you and other members of the media?
Got along great. He was the most gentleman guy you ever want to meet, and he got along with me very well, and he got along with the guys in Syracuse, and he got along with the other people in Elmira. He come to the Star-Gazette every time he was home, sit down with me and talk. Ernie was a gentleman all the way, answered every question, never backed out from anybody. He was just one hell of a kid, pardon the expression.
Going back to your days of covering him, let's say at Elmira Free Academy, any particular plays or clutch situations? There must have been a lot of them, but anyone in particular that really stood out to you? Well,
you see, he was an end. When he got to the varsity as a sophomore, he was an end, and he was end until midway through his junior year. And he would probably been an end from then on, but except that the academy tailback got hurt, and they moved Ernie as an experiment from end to tailback because when he caught passes, he ran pretty good. And that was the beginning of the story from then on.
He played basketball and baseball. How did he do in these other sports?
Oh, basketball was a sport in high school, I think, because he was a far better basketball player than he was a football player, only because he played basketball 4 straight. He was a starter as a freshman. In high school, he was considered a better basketball player because, hell, they won 52 straight games with him.
He's always been a legend here.
Yes.
How do you feel about the fact that now the whole country will know about Ernie Davis' story?
I think it's great. I think that the people around the country will love the movie because it's one of those movies that the general public and the people and the kids and everybody else will like Ernie in the movie.
Ernie Davis is usually remembered as a college football player who became the first African-American to win the Heisman Trophy. But to those who knew him best, Davis was so much more than an athlete. Tim Fox from our sister station in Syracuse spoke with those who knew Davis both on and off the field.
Ernie Davis was born in 1939 and raised by his grandparents in the coal fields of Pennsylvania. He moved to Elmira with his mother at age 12 and quickly electrified upstate New York.
Ernie was Mr. Football, Mr. Basketball, and track. He was a great athlete. He did everything. He accomplished everything.
Jerry Skinecki played against Ernie in high school, then teamed with him at SU. Davis was recruited by Hall of Fame coach Ben Schwartzwalder with help from one of the greatest athletes of all time, SU legend Jim Brown. He'd wear Brown's number 44. It was the late 50s. Freshmen weren't eligible for varsity sports, and there were only about 100 black students at SU. From the start, Ernie Davis outplayed everyone, but he also outworked everyone and gained respect here and on the road, despite the challenges in those early years of the civil rights movement.
When Syracuse went to the Cotton Bowl just 3 years before we went to the Cotton Bowl, Jim Brown couldn't get a haircut.
The prejudice that Syracuse encountered on the road did little to stop them. Ernie's first year on the varsity was magic. It was 1959, and Syracuse went undefeated on the season to finish #1 in the nation.
You know, if we were Ohio State or Michigan or somebody like that, it's just another team. But the fact is, this is the only national championship team, undefeated team that Syracuse has.
Davis went on to wipe out many of Jim Brown's SU team records, to help recruit the next 44, Floyd Little, and of course to break the color barrier and win the Heisman. He was the first pick in the 1962 NFL draft, and Cleveland hoped to team him with Jim Brown in a dream backfield. But Ernie was diagnosed with leukemia before ever playing a down in the pros, and he died in 1963. He was just 23 years old. His SU coach Ben Schwartzwalder would stay in Syracuse for the rest of his days. And as he told an SU camera crew late in life, old Ben never forgot the hard work and humanity that made Ernie Davis first among men, let alone football players.
He would pat them on the back, you know, and if they made a terrible block, he'd go pick them up and say, "Great blocking." And, you know, but he inspired the kids. And they loved Ernie. They respected and liked Floyd and Jim very much, but they loved Ernie.
In Syracuse.
Joining us now, Tom Wolf, who lives in Horseheads now and has old number 55 on, Ernie Davis's uniform number when he was both end and tailback at EFA. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
What do you remember most about Ernie Davis from your years of playing with him at EFA?
Primarily, you just look back, we were just kids. We enjoyed hanging out together. We enjoyed the sports at school. We enjoyed our school life. We spent a lot of time over at the neighborhood house. I was president of the El Nijo Club at one time. When we weren't playing school sports, we were over there, you know, hanging out in the gym. Got involved in the boxing program and so forth at the neighborhood house. So it was just a community type thing.
How many football championships did you folks win while Ernie was playing for you?
Boy, we won the STAC's championship in the year of '56 and '57. We got knocked off a couple of times, but we had winning records. We had excellent teams there at the time.
Now you got this shirt at you just had your 50th reunion,
yeah.
50th high school reunion.
Yep.
A lot of talk about the movie at the reunion?
Yeah, there was quite a bit of chatter about it. And some of the people were there that were instrumental in working with, I think, Universal and so forth, Jack Moore and some of them.
You know, we hear so much about, you know, it's hard to believe someone with such great talent, who had such a great career, and such a modest individual. And that's what you noticed as well?
You know, it's tough to say that you noticed it because at the time, Ernie was just one of the guys. And he always was like that, regardless how good he was. We didn't realize how good he was, really, until, you know, it dawned on you when he won the Heisman. You thought, my goodness, you know, we played with him. And you look back at the games you played here. I mean, he spent probably more time running east and west on a football field and put more yardage in going back and forth, evading people than he gained in the overall length of the field carrying the ball. He was an exceptional athlete. He just had terrific peripheral vision, and he just knew the game.
Now, you know, we had an unfortunate incident pop up where there's some dispute, a girls' high school soccer game in Vestal where there are allegations that there were racial slurs made during the game. Did you folks run into that at the high school level?
Never. It was amazing because, and I'm sure, you know, saw some little clips from the movie. We haven't seen the whole thing yet, but there's been some discussion about some of the problems that Ernie had on the race level at college. And, you know, you never thought anything like that when you were going through high school because we all just grew up as a bunch of guys in school, and it wasn't black or white back then. This was in the 50s in Elmira, and you didn't have that kind of a problem. But I can relate probably to maybe some of the situations he ran into when you got on that college level because he was traveling down south and so forth. And I went right out of college into the Navy, and went to Norfolk, Virginia, and it was unbelievable. First time that I ever saw water fountains that were marked whites and blacks. My wife came down to visit me down there and followed a lady into a restroom in a White Castle. And the lady went in, the door shut, and it said blacks only. And it was unbelievable because we didn't have that here. You never even thought about that growing up as a kid.
Well, Tom, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the film tonight.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're also working on other stories to tell you about.
And Zach Wheeler is live in our studio with all those details. Good evening, Zach.
Well, good evening, guys. Coming up next, a new report out says the murder rate in the city of Elmira is up. We will tell you what local authorities believe is the reason behind the increase, plus more government intervention. Maybe on the way to buy shares of some banks. Those stories and so much more when WETM 18 News returns this Thursday evening. Welcome back. Today, the Bush administration is weighing what more it can do to unlock the credit markets. U.S. stocks fell for a 7th straight session today. The president is looking at turning Americans into partial bank owners this month. The government would use bailout cash to buy bank shares and loosen lending. Another possibility is an emergency G8 summit next week to avert a worldwide recession. World finance ministers gathered in Washington and are warning of a global hurt.
All over the world. Let's look beyond the financial rescue to the human rescue.
Well, the White House says President Bush will meet with G8 finance ministers at the White House on Saturday. Now all eyes are on the United States for a global financial fix. Well, the annual report for the Elmira Police Department shows murders increased at a rate of 300% in the city last year. But overall, the crime rate dropped in Elmira between 2006 and 2007. You're looking at the scene of the 2007 murder of Anthony Hall. City Council had the chance to question Elmira Police Chief Scott Drake at their workshop this morning. Drake explained that Elmira has the highest crime rate because the city has the most low-income people. One city councilman says there are some positive notes in the report, but certain statistics are very alarming.
I think the most horrendous aspect is that last year we had more murders than we've had previously, and that was most unfortunate, and thank God we have captured one of the suspects, and we'll work on others.
The Elmira City Council will vote on whether to approve the police report at their meeting this coming Tuesday. Chief Drake says he won't comment or release the report to the public until then. Well, stay with us. Meteorologist Vanessa Richards will have your complete forecast coming up next as we continue our special broadcast of the local premiere of The Express.
The Express Premiere Special, brought to you by the Laser Eye Center.
Well, welcome back. You're taking a look at the Elmira sky cam. Really a gorgeous evening as the sun's going to set here within the next hour or so. Let's take a look at the almanac for today. These numbers really shocking here. 10 degrees above normal for the high at 74 degrees, low even 5 degrees warmer than the average, around 40. So really, all in all, not too bad out there. Taking a look at the local satellite and radar loop showing, well, there's not really a lot going on, and that's really leading to all these nice fair conditions. Still holding strong at 74, no cloud cover. Now we've got a wind out of the west at about 10 miles per hour, really helping to aid things as far as the temperatures are concerned, making it feel comfortable outside, which isn't bad here. And the current temperatures here locally really staying within the mid-70s and even into the upper 60s. But if we take a look at the larger picture here, not a lot of change. Look at these temperatures, even around Pittsburgh, 69, in Cincinnati, 73. Let me show you why. Really, it's all because of what's going on with the cloud cover here, and you can see it on our satellite and radar loop. Clouds to the north and clouds to the south, but we really have just this really dry air, some high pressure building in throughout this area. That's why temperatures from New York all the way down where we saw that in Cincinnati, and we are even seeing temperatures near Chicago in the 70s. So this temperature is really staying very stationary as far as all this dry air is concerned. So we're keeping our eye on that because there could be some changes. Taking a look though at the planner for tomorrow, or for the next 3 days rather, you can see that the 70 degrees for tomorrow going to be due to the abundant sunshine that we see. Now Saturday, maybe a few High clouds filtering in, but that's not going to affect the temperature. In fact, we'll get winds starting to turn out of the south, really going to bump up temperatures towards the 72-degree mark. And Sunday, maybe a few more high clouds, but really the temperature isn't going to be affected at all. In fact, we'll see temperatures climbing once again like they were today towards the 74. Now, we won't see the wind, which will make things feel a bit more mild for this time of year. Now, there's no doubt that the weather today is perfect for the debut of the Express. We'll see these sunny conditions continue for the next several days. Now, I want to express that for the next 24 hours, we will see cool conditions, though, as we move through the overnight hours and in the morning. Now, let's head back, though, to the Elmira Heights Theater for tonight's debut of the Express. That's where we find Jeff Stone and Reagan Reggie tonight, really in the middle of all the excitement. Good evening, you guys.
Well, good evening, Vanessa. Cold outside, but a great night to see a movie. And one of the major stars in the Express is Dennis Quaid.
And he plays SU football coach Ben Schwartzwalder in the movie. And coming up, you'll hear why he agreed to that role. Well, besides Ernie Davis, the other major character in The Express is the coach of Ernie Davis at Syracuse University, Ben Schwartzwalder. That role played by actor Dennis Quaid. And a couple days ago, Dennis Quaid spoke to reporters on the Today Show about playing that role. Here's what he had to say.
Well, beyond that, for me to do a sports movie, it has to transcend sport, and The Express definitely does. Whereas like The Rookie was a baseball movie, but it was really about second chances in life. The Express, the Ernie Davis story, is really about grace in your life and using your life to its full effect. And Ernie Davis truly embodied that in his short life.
And Quaid was in Syracuse last month for the worldwide debut of The Express, as were several of the other actors as well.
And I was there for that orange carpet premiere, and I got to speak to several of those stars, and one thing was common when it came to how they felt about Ernie Davis. We're standing outside the landmark theater in the heart of downtown Syracuse. And as you can see, the orange carpet is rolled out. And you won't believe how many stars have strutted their stuff down the runway. And before I get into specifics, why don't you see for yourself? The orange carpet greeted all sorts of talent in Syracuse tonight, from the celebrities starring in The Express to what some say are Syracuse's greatest athletes to ever play on the football field. And tonight, they all had one thing in common, a deep appreciation for Ernie Davis.
And Ernie will remind us, and this film will remind us of where we've been and how far we've come.
But this is a story the world needs to know, because Ernie Davis made an impact on society, and we're excited that it's here in our town, in Syracuse.
I drove people crazy on the movie, actors and crew, to get it right, because I felt that ultimately I owed Ernie that debt.
It's great for at least guys today to see how guys like him and Jim Brown really paved the way for us to have the type of success that we're having today.
I knew he won the Heisman, but I didn't know anything about his journey or his struggle. So, you know, and I felt ashamed about it. I felt, you know, kind of insecure. So I feel as though for that reason, we need to generate interest and awareness about Ernie Davis.
Well, it started out as player coach, and I think it wound up as just about father and son.
Unlike other carpeted events, we didn't bother asking the celebrities who they were wearing. Instead, we decided to ask if they'll ever stop by Elmira.
I'll say yes. I'll go on record and say yes. I'll visit Elmira.
And I want to say hello to all the people in Elmira. You're a great, great, great town. I've been through there many, many times.
I have never been to Elmira. No, I haven't.
Do you think you'll ever pay a visit after this movie?
You never know.
So in other words, you may want to keep your eyes peeled.
Did you enjoy that Dennis Quaid interview?
I did enjoy it. He was very, very sweet. And I wonder if he's going to stop by Elmira. But as he said, you never know. And stay with us, because we'll be right back with so much more.
And there's a lot more to come on our special broadcast from the Heights Theater tonight. Ernie Davis's stepfather had a chance to see the movie about his stepson. You'll hear how he feels about seeing Ernie on the big screen.
I had to lose like 30 pounds because I was just too fat at the time when I tested for the role. So.
We spoke with the two stars of The Express about what it was like to be in the movie. You'll hear their responses.
And Davis was more than just a great athlete. You'll hear from those who knew Ernie off the field as well.
And those stories and so much more are still to come on our WETM 18 News special on the local debut of The Express, next at 6.
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Ernie Davis gets an orange call. Ernie jukes and jogs over the right side on a beautiful 24-yard maneuver. From the Miami 25, Ernie Davis gets the call to skirt the left flank, and he does a thorough job. It's a TD for the Orange. Ernie Davis is our player of the week. All-America Ernie gained 130 yards on 16 carries. Congratulations, Ernie. Davis gets an orange call. Ernie jukes and jogs over the right side on a beautiful 24-yard maneuver. From the Miami 25, Ernie Davis gets the call to skirt the left flank, and he does a thorough job. It's a TD for the Orange.
Live from the Heights Theater in Elmira Heights, this is a WETM 18 News special presentation for the local premiere of The Express.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Stone.
And I'm Reagan Medji. Welcome back to the Elmira Heights Theater, where Ernie Davis, Elmira College football legend, will be making his premiere in the Southern Tier and the movie The Express.
Now, Davis, of course, considered one of the best college football players of all time. He graduated from Elmira Free Academy in 1958 before going on to star at Syracuse University. He led the team to its only national championship in 1959, and 2 years later, he became the first African-American to win the Heisman Trophy. And throughout the show, you'll see a replica of that right between Reagan and myself. Davis was picked by the Washington Redskins in the 1962 NFL Draft, but was soon traded to the Cleveland Browns. Unfortunately, Davis died of leukemia in 1963 before he ever got a chance to play pro football.
Some of Ernie Davis's relatives have already seen the movie. His stepfather, Harold Fleming, was one of them. Camille Williams spoke with him about how he felt Hollywood portrayed his stepson.
For more than 40 years, Marie Fleming had waited for her son's story to be told. Unfortunately, she died this past May before seeing The Express make its debut.
So in a way, Marie wanted people to know about Ernie's story.
Yes, she was very proud, and she was glad that they kept Ernie's memory alive.
Harold Fleming, Ernie Davis's stepfather, came into Ernie Davis's life at the age of 18 while he was attending Syracuse University. He says the movie shows the true Ernie Davis.
The movie showed a fun-loving guy, and he was. Loved people, loved to be around people, and he loved football.
However, he says some parts of the movie were twisted.
They had his grandfather dying, and his grandfather outlived him. They had him closer to his brother Willie than Charles, and him and Charles were more the same age, and they were real close.
Fleming says the movie writers might have gotten parts of Ernie's life mixed up because they got most of their information from this book, Ernie Davis, The Elmira Express. It's a biography on Ernie Davis's life by Robert Gallagher in 1983. Even so, he says Marie Fleming would have been proud.
This movie thing been up in the air for ever since he died. And different people have been working on it and working on books and now materialized.
And when we spoke to Ernie Davis's stepfather last week, he said he would try to make it to the movie again tonight, but he did see the world premiere in Syracuse at the Landmark Theater a few months ago.
Now, the film's two biggest stars say it was an honor to portray both Ernie Davis and his coach at Syracuse University, Ben Schwartzwalder. Rob Brown and Dennis Quaid spoke to WETM 18 News reporter Anna List earlier today about their impressions of Davis and the city he called home.
Guys, actors Dennis Quaid and Rob Brown both star as Syracuse football coach Ben Schwartzwalder and our own Ernie Davis, respectively, in The Express. Dennis, Rob, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us here in Elmira, Ernie's hometown, and one of the settings for your latest film.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I would like to start with Rob, actually, with my questioning. Rob, you said in a recent interview with USA Today that playing Ernie Davis in a movie is a dream come true for you. Can I ask you why Ernie, and what did you do to convey him, not just as a football player, but as a person?
Well, I always answer this question by saying, why not Ernie? Upon reading the script, you know, I couldn't put it down, and I just felt like I was so drawn to it. I felt like I had to be a part of the film.
Can I ask both of you, what were your biggest challenges going into these roles?
Well, for me, for the simple fact that Ernie's a legend, and so I had to, that's a burden. Again, it was a dream come true, but I also looked at it as an honor and a privilege to be able to play this role. I have a responsibility to him, his family, and to the organizations he represented to respect his legacy.
And for me, playing Ben Schwartzwalder, you know, he was a man of his times, and the biggest the challenge for us was going back to those times and really portraying them honestly during those times of segregation and racial tensions before the civil rights movement, to be very non-politically correct, not do it in a 2008 way, so that people could see the way that it used to be, and it speaks to how far we've come today. And how far we've come today is in part because of men like Ernie Davis.
Gotcha. And finally, to both of you, The Express means a lot to a lot of people as the story of a real man, of real men. It's a real story. It's a true story. What did you do in preparing for these roles to honor the memory of our hometown hero and of the other heroes represented in the film?
Well, whatever literature I could get my hands on, and a lot of, basically a lot of game tape we got from Syracuse that they were so great to give us. You know, I spoke to Jim Brown briefly. I didn't want to disturb him, just trying to get a feel for Ernie and his spirit. So, you know, and in addition to that, I had to lose like 30 pounds because I was just too fat at the time when I tested for the role. So I figured if Ernie was such a dedicated person, I needed to be dedicated as well and get myself in shape, mind, body, and soul in order to portray him.
Yeah, Ben Schwartzwalder was a very complex man. I was lucky enough to have done a film already with Jim Brown, and he was very honest with me about talking about his relationship with Ben, which was sometimes abrasive, and also about Ernie Davis.
Well, Rob Brown, Dennis Quaid, it's an honor being able to interview you both. You should stop by Elmira sometime and visit. We encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Will do.
Good, good. I'm going to hold you accountable to that. Thank you from all of us here at WETM 18 News in Elmira. We look forward to seeing you guys in The Express.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's PG, too. Everybody can see it.
Great.
Welcome back. You can see the crowd starting to file in behind us now at the Heights Theater for the showing of The Express. And joining us now, one of Ernie Davis's best friends back in the EFA days, Jack Moore. Jack, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me here.
Well, it's been about 52 years since the death of Ernie Davis. Are you surprised it's taken that long for a film to be made about him?
I'm glad it has been made. Certainly over the years, plenty of people or a number of people have said they were going to do this, and finally it's happened. And, hopefully the rest of the nation, the world, will know what a great guy Ernie Davis was.
And that's a good point too, because he's been a legend locally, but you must feel good about the fact that now the rest of the world will know about his story.
I hope so. I hope the movie portrays him as he was, because he was a terrific athlete, as we all know, but I think those of us who knew him know that he was even a better person.
I was going to ask you, what did Ernie Davis mean to you as a friend?
I think I've never met a better person than Ernie Davis, and he died 1963, so he died 45 years ago. And he was just an incredible person, great humanity, great humility, great sense of humor, cared about The people that were around him seemed to care about them more than he cared about himself. He's a terrific person.
Okay, Jack, well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, well, Ernie Davis middle schoolers are keeping Davis's memory alive this school year. And today, students in the Builders Club put fake flowers on Davis's grave at the Woodlawn Cemetery. The flowers are the school colors at Elmira Free Academy, where Davis played football. Throughout the year, you'll see different flower arrangements on special occasions like Davis's birthday and Christmas. Flowers by Christopher is sponsoring all the flowers.
We wanted to see if anybody was doing it first, and we found out that nobody was doing it. So since he's such an American hero, we thought, how great would it be to just clean up his grave and everything and put flowers on it. It's really exciting to be able to do something for Elmira's hero and a lot of other people's hero. And I think we're doing it because he did a lot for us. And
the club advisor says she hopes to do this again next school year. The total estimated cost will be $300. Only a couple of the students were selected to attend the movie premiere tonight at the theater.
And the doors are actually opened up now. The crowd's starting to fill in. We should remind you this is an invitation-only event. I'll be like the rest of you. I'll see it this weekend at the Arnott Mall. We're going back to work. It'll be a great movie, I'm sure. And the movie, actually, if you do have tickets and you are coming, the movie starts at 7:30, despite what your tickets might have said. Now, WETM 18 News reporter Camille Williams is here at the theater to speak with some of those people in line waiting to come in. Camille?
Well, Jeff and Reagan, we're right outside here at the Elmira Heights Theater, and as you probably saw, there are dozens of students and children who've already went inside, and a lot of Ernie Davis's closest friends and family. But there are a couple of people that I've stumbled across outside the theater here, and actually here's one of them. His name is Alex. Now, Alex, you don't have any tickets, but why are you here today, you and your mom?
Just to see what's going on, see who's here, and I'm a fan of Ernie Davis myself, and I just wanted to come and see what was happening.
And you also have this T-shirt that you made last year, right?
Yeah, it was an art project at school, and some of the art kids got together and wrote down things about Ernie Davis, and it goes on the back of the shirt.
Well, very cool. And now also another person who doesn't have tickets but is also out here is Andrew. Andrew, why are you here?
Well, my grandma was in nursing school, and she kept riding this train with Ernie Davis, and well, she kept telling me these stories about it.
And so you're a big fan. Well, exciting. Hopefully you guys can get some tickets. But for now, Jeff and Reagan, check with me later, and who knows who else we'll bump into. But for now, back to you.
I just said a few more. And as big as this event is now, it is not the only big story happening right now in the Twin Tiers.
That's right. We're now going to go to, what are we doing next?
We're going right over to Zach Wheeler, who's live in the studio with all those details.
Well, thanks, guys. It looks like a lot of fun down there at the Heights. But up next, we will tell you why the struggling U.S. economy has not created a major business meltdown right here in the Southern Tier. Plus, two Southern Tier school districts have very different opinions on what was said at a JV soccer game in Vestal last Saturday. We will explain. But first, here's a look at the day on Wall Street. It was the 7th straight session decline for the Dow. The Dow Jones fell about 679 points. The S&P 500 fell 75 points, and the NASDAQ Composite shed 95 points on this 9th day of October. And here are some stocks of local interest. The struggling U.S. economy has not created a major business meltdown in the Southern Tier just yet. That's according to the president of the Southern Tier Economic Growth, or STEG. George Miner says no local businesses have approached him in need of a bailout so far. In fact, Miner says some economic indicators, like the sales tax, shows improvement.
I think a lot of that has to do with the energy, the gas exploration. I think a lot of that has to do with the diversity of our economy, and I think a lot of that has to do with the strength of our local banking systems.
Miner does admit some local businesses have been impacted, like construction companies that build new homes. Well, two Southern Tier school districts have very different opinions on what was said at a JV soccer game at Vestal last Saturday. The Horseheads JV girls soccer team forfeited the game at Vestal after players said a fan yelled racial slurs. Both districts conducted their own investigations. At a news conference today, Vestal superintendent said their investigation leads them to believe that it was all just a misunderstanding and no racial or anti-Semitic slurs were uttered by anyone.
I deeply regret this misunderstanding that it occurred, and I would like to offer my personal apologies to these girls, their coach, and their families for the anguish they have experienced.
However, the Horsehead School District says they found players did hear racial slurs from the crowd. The superintendent is proposing everyone involved meet in a neutral location with a mediator to talk it all out.
Well, I think people need to be heard and validated. I think that's critical. And I think a lot of therapy, the venting piece of that is critical, because I'm worried and concerned that if that doesn't take place, that it could spill over to the next contest or other sports seasons.
Well, this is far from over. Both school districts have requested the Southern Tier Athletic Conference and Section 4 do an independent investigation. Well, stay with us. Vanessa Richards will have your complete forecast coming up next as our special on the local premiere of The Express continues tonight. Don't go away.
Welcome back. I'm WETM 18 Storm Team meteorologist Vanessa Richards. Look at the Elmira sky cam showing that as the sun starts to set here within the hour, we still have some clear skies and really nice conditions. Let's take a look at what's going on at the airport. 72 degrees. We've only dropped a couple of degrees. Winds out of the west at 8 miles per hour, really helping to make things feel comfortable. Temperatures across the area showing that everyone really feeling the mild temperatures from the lower 60s to even the 70s. So really a little bit of a range of temperatures here, because maybe some areas seeing some clouds in the northern part of New York here, but really clear all the way back towards Chicago. Nice high pressure moving in, helping to squash out any clouds and really giving us fair weather. Now, I'm going to warn you now, this future cast, not exactly exciting, but that's good news, because that means there's nothing going on. Now, for the overnight hours, this will mean that we'll cool down. Now, last night we were 45, so a bit mild. Now, tonight, unfortunately, we'll probably dip back into the upper 30s. We won't be in frost territory tonight, maybe in lower valleys. That's a big maybe, though. By tomorrow morning, it'll be cool, probably in the upper 30s. Now, as we move into the afternoon, still nothing on the map. In fact, this will help us in the temperature department tomorrow. Maybe not around that 74-degree mark that we saw today, but still in the 70s thanks to the abundant sunshine that we will see. And even moving into the afternoon, things are still on the quiet side. 6 o'clock, not a cloud in the sky, not a very eventful future cast, to say the least. Here's your 3-day forecast. We're watching the temperatures. Look at these overnight lows, not really that bad, but the daytime high is really good. 71 tomorrow, 72 on Saturday. Look at this weekend, warm temperature, 74 on Sunday. Let's take a look at your full WETM 18 Storm Team 7-day forecast, showing that even the start of the work week is going to be nice with a high of 73. We'll see some showers moving in on Tuesday with breezy conditions. Temperatures finally dropping back down into the 60s, 65 on Wednesday, and even 64 on Thursday. Now it's that time where we're going to head back to the Elmira Heights Theater for tonight's debut of the movie The Express. Now Reagan, Medji, and Jeff Stone are there, and all the people are starting to fill in into the theater. Very exciting, you guys.
Well, it is very, very exciting here. A lot of people are filing in right as we speak. People are lined up outside, and they cannot wait to see the Express tonight.
Emerson Lotzi has sports coming up.
The rivalry continues. When the Jackals and Royals meet, anything's possible. Good news for Elmira is they'll have some extra help from the AHL. Pierre-Luc Faubert and Chris St. Croix are back from Binghamton. The Senators also assigned goalie Mitchell O'Keefe to the Jackals. For head coach Steve Martinson, tonight's first step is to figure out who belongs where.
I like to have a good corner guy and a setup guy and a scorer, but I don't really build checking lines. We just try to find guys that work well together, and usually it's pairs, because the lineup changes sometimes, and you can't have everything set in stone, but that's what I'm looking for.
Long before the Jackals even hit the ice, Ernie Davis was running wild on the football field. It all started at EFA, where his legacy still lives on to this day. To the current Blue Devil football team, Ernie's the perfect role model. The field's different, but to these guys, it doesn't even matter. Just to have the opportunity to put on the same uniform as Davis makes this team proud.
It's a little awe-inspiring. Kind of makes you think, like, makes you work harder because what he did and what he was and what he means.
It's pretty cool to have like a role model like that that, you know, was so good and stuff that came from EFA.
We grow up, unfortunately, with legends. I mean, you go Montana, Marino, the whole 9 yards, and there's a special legend here in a small town.
You at least know he was one of the nicest guys to ever walk the earth. Just ask his former teammates. Even after Ernie graduated from EFA, he still took care of the Blue Devils.
When he was up at Syracuse, he never forgot us guys. And he always sent us a bunch of tickets, and we'd go up and see the games. He had great seats. He'd always, we'd go to the locker room.
How many boys can say that we played with a boy that won the Heisman Trophy? How many can say that? Not too many. And it was an honor. You know, I feel good that, you know, that we played ball with him, and we were part of Ernie's life in a way.
A true hero and legend indeed. Well, that does it here in the studio. For more on Ernie Davis, let's toss it back up to Jeff and Reagan live out at the Heights Theater. What's going on, guys?
Hi, Emerson.
Well, thanks, Emerson. The crowd continues to filter in for the 7:30 movie. We're going to talk with some of them when we come back.
And we are back at the Elmira Heights Theater, where the Express is almost going to be shown on the big screen. More and more people have filed in, and they cannot wait. And we've even got popcorn to prove it.
Yes, we do. We're ready for that. The movie begins at 7:30. This is an invitation-only event, by the way. It opens up nationwide, every other theater. And we're going to interview some of these people. Watch WBTM 18 News at 11. We'll have their reactions to the movie. Thanks for joining us.
WETM 18 News, your award-winning news for the Twin Tiers.